What's up YouTube, Dale here from Zephyr, and today I'm dusting off a deck that I haven't profiled in about 3 years. Today is the turn of Agents. So that's right, it was 3 years ago when Ghost from the Past 2 officially dropped that I did an update on this profile. I actually looked back at that old profile today to see what had changed. And a lot did change. When you look at the extra deck for the previous version, it had Baron the Floor, now currently on the forbidden side of the list, alongside Halley Firebrax and Appaloosa. That being said, we do have some brand new TCG exclusives that I wanted to trial out in the strategy, and as a bit of a preview, you can see those 3 new cards right there. I'll talk you through how they get utilized within this deck, the pros and the cons for using them, and also give you an update over the general strategy for the agents. So with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. We're going to dive headfirst into the profile, show you what we've got, and as absolutely always, explain why we've got it. So starting off with the agent cards themselves, we are going to be playing Free Agent of Mystery, Earth. This is a level 2 tuner, and when it is normal summon specifically, you get to add an agent monster from the deck to the hand except itself. If Sanctuary in the Sky is on the field, you can add a monster, a Master Hyperion from the deck to your hand instead. Ideally, what you're going to want to be going for off the back of this will be your Neptune. And you are going to be maxing out on this card because this is the one you also want to hard see as well. The benefit of something the other cards that Earth can search will be stuff like, and just so people don't think I'm making it up, Uranus alongside Venus as well. But usually if you've used your normal summon on Earth, you're only going to want to add Venus if you do have another card to be utilized a little bit more off the back of it. Neptune being the next most important one is it allows you to discard this card to special summon an agent monster from the hand or graveyard except itself. Or if Sanctuary in the Sky is on the field or in either graveyard, you get to special summon a Hyperion monster instead. Neither player can tribute a monster summoned with this effect until the end of your opponent's turn. If this card is banished, you get to add a Sanctuary in the Sky from the deck to your hand. You can only use each effect once per turn. Then we are on Free Venus. This is currently a 45 card list. You can cut the Venus down if you want to, but you still want to see the card. This deck is by no means incredibly broken, meta defining or anything like that today, but you still need to be able to utilize it and play it for fun. And being able to utilize a card like the Agent of Creation Venus, which burns your own life points to special summon Shine Balls, that you can do as many times as you have Shine Balls in the deck. So if you're able to recycle them, which you can do, you can go again and again and again. So this one, you pay 500 life points, special summon a Shine Ball. Those of you that are asking what a Shine Ball is, annoyingly, it's not a token, otherwise that would be great. It's actually a vanilla monster that you have to play 3 of in the deck, and it will always show up in your opening hand. That's just the way the cookie crumbles. And annoyingly, the Venus only lets you special summon it from the hand or deck. I get it, it'd be pretty broken if you could summon it back from the grave, but it means if it's in the hand, you lose a little bit of advantage, but it's not the end of the world because you also play the sister in the form of the Agent of Destruction Venus, and this one lets you banish an Agent of Creation Venus from the graveyard to special summon this card from the hand. You get to pay life points in multiples of 500, then for every 500 you paid, you get to target a mystical Shine Ball that is banished or in the graveyard and special summon them, but place them on the bottom of the deck when they leave the field. You can only use 1 Agent of Destruction Venus effect per turn, and only once that turn. So there are ways you can actually clone the effect of this, and you can actually clone the effect of Venus, normal, the Agent of Creation as well, and I'll show you that as we go through the extra deck. But the other is you can pretty much summon out Shine Balls like 6 times a turn, maybe even more if you already have Venus on the field. The one big difference between the Agent of Destruction and the Agent of Creation is the Agent of Creation can just do 1 at a time, whereas the Agent of Destruction you pay for all 3 in one go, meaning that if you were to have Destruction and Creation on the field, you wouldn't be able to go, cool, Venus, summon 3, or Creation, summon 3, link them off, do whatever you need to, and then Destruction, bring them all back, and then go again and again, but you can still do it with the Venus. Then the one Uranus, so the idea behind this one is if Sanctuary in the Sky is on the field, you get to special summon this card from the hand. The benefit of that as well is you get to send an agent monster from the deck to the grave, and if you do, this card's level becomes a level with that monster sent to the graveyard. So sometimes, as this is a tuner, it's also quite nice to adapt its level, but the benefit of something like that as well is if you already hard open up a route to Sanctuary of the Sky, you can get access to your Neptune. Neptune can be discarded to bring back any of your other agents that you might want to get access to, mainly something like the Agent of Creation or the Agent of Destruction Venus. Then we do play 2 of the Master Hyperion, so 1 Master Hyperion and 1 Majesty Hyperion. So you special summon this card from the hand by banishing 1 agent monster from the hand, field, or graveyard. Once per turn, you get to banish a light fairy monster from the graveyard to target a card on the field and destroy that target. While the Sanctuary of Sky is on the field, you get to activate this effect up to twice per turn. So this is more of your aggressor. And your defender will be your Majesty Hyperion. You get to special summon this card from the hand or grave by banishing an agent monster from the hand, field, or graveyard. You can only special summon it once per turn this way. Any battle damage you take from battles involving your fairy monsters is also inflicted to your opponent. And once per turn, you get to banish a fairy monster from the graveyard to target a card on either graveyard and banish it. If Sanctuary in the Sky is on the field, or in either graveyard, you can use this effect up to twice per turn. So it just allows you to extend that a little bit further. So it's less aggressive, more extension. Then moving on to the generic fairy monsters that we are playing the 1 Protecting Spirit Logotha. So if this card is in the field, if a card on the field is destroyed by battle or card effect, you get to target a monster on the field. It can't be destroyed by battle this turn. You can only use each of the following effects once per turn. If an effect of a fairy monster you control is activated, except during a damage step, you get to special on this card from the hand. You can target 1 face-up card your opponent controls and 1 attack position monster you control. Banish those cards, and if you do, change your monster to defense. So that's really kind of way of a bit of a nice bit of spot removal. Archlord Christia, you should be able to control the amount of fairies you have in the graveyard. Very, very easy. Chuck down Christia, and then you're protected. 1 Button, so you'll actually be summoning Button off of the back of tributing your Diviner of the Herald, which you can do very, very easily in this deck. And in doing so, this just comes as a level 1 tuner, which can get you into your level 10 synchro monsters, being stuff like your Master Flare Hyperion. And in an ideal scenario, that's where you would get into Baron de Fleur as well. But it kind of gives you a little bit of a different options depending on what you're trying to go for. So that's kind of why you're playing this card. Don't worry, we also play Eva. I'm going to get to it in a second. So let's get through the old cards first before we go on to the new cards. So for the other monsters, we are playing 3 Diviner of the Herald. This is your ideal normal summon for the deck. On normal or special, you get to send a fairy from the deck to the graveyard, or technically from the extra deck. So you can play Elded Entity Unts in the extra deck if you want to. I'm not playing that. That would be a more aggressive option. But I actually have a lot of main deck cards I don't mind sending to the graveyard. Stuff like your Trias, and of course stuff like your Eva. More so the Trias than the Eva, because you'd send the Trias contribute the Diviner, summon the Trias back, and then bring back a level 1 tuner. You still have the benefits of being able to put Eva to the grave. Moving on to the brand new TCG exclusives. The pros of a card like Dawn Angel Khabib is if you control no monsters or all monsters you control are fairies, you get to special on this card from the hand. You can tribute any number of fairy monsters, including this card, to special on a fairy monster from your deck whose level equals the total levels those monsters had on the field. You cannot special summon the turn you activate this effect except fairy monsters. You can only use each effect once per turn. So if you summon it for free, great, it's a nice free extender. If you were to tribute something off, like a Diviner of the Herald, because maybe it got impermed, not only could you tribute off Diviner and Dawn, which would then get you direct access to your Agent of Creation Venus, but you would then also get the tribute effect off the back of the Diviner, which means that when you do that, as I juggle around all of these cards, you could bring out a card like Bhutan. Bhutan can then be used as a tuner material to start working with your mystical shine balls that can get you into level 5s. You can get into level 4s with the back of the Agent Creation Venus. So you've got loads of different options, and it can also get you access to your Agent of Destruction Venus as well, because they are fairies. And let me just double check, is it light fairies? No, just special on a fairy monster. So you can get direct access to your Agent of Destruction Venus as well if you've already gone through your mystical shine balls. So that is why we play 3 Dawn Angel. The biggest issue is if you do use that tribute effect, you are locked into fairies for the entire turn. So it means that if you have summoned a card that is not a fairy previously, you won't be able to use that effect, which is where the con comes into play with this particular card. Another card that you can utilize that are on the brand new cards is the Hyperion, the Diviner Follower. So you tribute 3 fairy monsters from the hand and or field to set a continuous spell from the deck, but you send it to the graveyard during your opponent's end phase. If this card is sent to the graveyard by card effect, you get to special summon this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. Now it is a very high level monster, so very rarely will you be able to use Dawn to tribute it, but it is still a very decent monster that can get to the field very easily. And it is a level 9. So it basically acts as another form of a Trias. You can tribute the 3 fairy monsters, but that's probably a lot to do. Like, even if you are tributing off your Shrine Balls, the only card you're going to be going for would be the brand new Vingolf's Blessing. So when this card is activated, you get to send a fairy monster from, specifically a light fairy monster from your deck to the grave. So that's when you can send your Hermine and then bring the Hermine back. But the benefit of something like this as well is that all your fairy monsters gain 100 attack for each fairy monster in your field and or grave. If this card is sent to grave, you get to target a level 4 or lower fairy in your graveyard and special summon it. You can only use each effect once per turn. So there's nothing built in this deck right now to send it, and it's why this engine could be subjective. Like, if you wanted to, you could play one Vingolfs, you could get rid of the Hermnir and just play 3 Dawn Angels if you wanted to. Like, these are just something that were the TCG exclusive. I thought I'd want to trial it out in the deck as well. It's kind of a nice option just to give you a free fairy on the field. It's a shame that the Dawn Angel needs to summon a monster that has the exact level, because you're not really playing a level 9 fairy in the main deck outside of something like the Trius. So it's something to kind of work with, but I thought to kind of shake it up a little bit, you can see what the brand new TCG exclusives do, and then what type of ratios you'd be playing with. Then for the spells, or the rest of the spells, we're playing 3 Sacred Waters in the Sky. So activate a Sanctuary in the Sky directly from the deck, or add a monster that mentions it from your deck to the hand. Then if Sanctuary in the Sky is on the field or in either graveyard, you get to gain 500 life points for each Hyperion and agent monster you control. If your monster that mentions Sanctuary in the Sky would be destroyed by battle, you get to banish this card from the graveyard instead. You can only use each effect once per turn. And of course, we are playing 1 Sanctuary in the Sky. Battle damage to the controller of a fairy monster from a battle involving that monster becomes 0. The last one we are playing is the Fallen Sanctuary. So when this card is activated, you get to set a Sanctuary in the Sky or a spell and trap that mentions it directly from the deck. This card's name becomes Sanctuary in the Sky while on the field or in the graveyard. You can banish 1 fairy monster from your graveyard to then target an effect monster your opponent controls, negate its effects until the end of the turn, even if this card leaves the field. You can only use each effect once per turn, and you can only activate this card once per turn, which is why you're only playing 1 of it. And then for the final cards, we are playing the 1 Foolish Burial. So again, if you're choosing not to play your Hermnir, I would probably cut the Foolish Burial completely, but you still have targets off the Foolish Burial to use, which is why you also have more targets off the back of the Vingolf, because you can send Eva to draw you cards, you can send a Trius. If, let's say, your Divine has been negated, you can still send the Trius and then use Trius to tribute off. So you're basically playing 4 Foolish Burials with inside the deck, which can be very, very useful for you to kind of get you everything you need to. And then the core hand trap for this entire deck will be the Herald of Orange Light. You can play green and you can play purple as well if you wanted to. The final cards that you might want to consider, depending on the build you're going for, is you can consider stuff like Infinite Impermanence, Ash Blossom. You can also consider Drawn Lockbird. You can also consider Mulchummy Furos. So you can pretty much choose whichever one you want to fill the rest of this deck out. At current, this deck would be a 42 card deck, and then you just choose one hand trap that is going to be most effective in your environment to kind of help you out. But your Herald of the Orange Light is basically your own in-archetypal Gamma, which can be very, very damaging to your opponent and be very, very useful for you as well. Moving on to the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we are playing 2 of the basically agent cards in the form of the Master Flare Hyperion and the Executor of the Underworld Pluto. So your Master Flare Hyperion is generic level 10, but it does require a non-tuner fairy monster. You get to send 1 the agent monster or a monster that mentions Sanctuary in the Sky from the hand, deck, or extra deck to the graveyard. And to the end phase, this card's name becomes that monster's name, and you replace this effect with that effect. So this can basically become Venus if you need it to. When your opponent activates a card or effect, you get a quick effect to banish a fairy monster from the hand or grave to target a card on the field and banish it. The Executor of the Underworld Pluto is always treated as an agent card. It's a level 5 generic, as it is a tuner as well. So once per turn, you get to banish 1 monster from your graveyard to then target an effect monster on the field. Change it to face down defense position. This is a quick effect if Sanctuary of the Sky is on the field or in either player's graveyard. You can banish this card from the graveyard to add a Sanctuary in the Sky from the deck or grave to the hand. You can only use each effect once per turn. Then for your other generic synchros, we've got the 1 Cupid Pitch, the 1 Herald of the Arc Light. These are your final fairies. And then for your other aggressive monsters, that if you don't go down the brand new card of Dawn of the Angel, which is going to be the only card that locks you into fairies, you can then start utilizing other cards like Cheng Ying, Chaos Angel. You can play into the Cursed Thunder God and the Psychic End Punisher, mainly because you pay a lot of your own life points anyway, that the Psychic End Punisher can be one of them one-shot cards that kind of finishes the duel off, as you do have a lot of different level tuners, which can be very useful for you. And of course, with the Thunder God, it can be a Raigeki, but it can also then deal with your opponent's spells and traps and gain you some more life points. The only XZs that we play is the 1 Typhon, just because the format right now really does scream out for a Typhon. It's so good at breaking fields and being able to pull apart stuff that is like Animakumos, and then Rise Your Detonators. It gives you a lot more utility and protection. Generic links we are playing is the IP into an SP, and then for the fairy ones that we are playing, we've got the Herald of the Mirage Lights. This one requires 2 monsters with the same type and attributes except tokens, and when a spell, trap card, or an effect is activated, you get a quick effect to send the fairy monster from the hand to the grave, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. We've then got the 1 hit Hostage. This just increases the attack of all light monsters on the field, gain 500, and all darks lose 400. It's a bit of a give and a take, and if anything, I would probably play 2 Protector of the Agent's Moon rather than the hit Hostage. But then you also do see that a lot of your agents aren't as incredibly strong as you would like them to be, so being able to give them a generic buff can be very useful off the back of the hit Hostage, especially if you lock yourself into fairies. This can be more useful for you. You can consider going down the Charmer route, but the way that I kind of looked at it with the Charmer is the Charmer would then need to bring back a light monster, which again, you need to not be fairy locked, and then work your way into something like a Celine, and then Celine would work you into an access code, but by the time you've done all of that, you're only going to have a light monster to be able to be banished. So your access code, yes, is going to be 53, but unless you're going to banish itself, which kind of defeats the purpose, you're only going to be able to clear 1 card. The Protector of the Agent's Moon is 2 fairy monsters, and if it is linked on, you get to send a Sanctuary in the Sky or a card that mentions it from the deck to the grave, or if Sanctuary in the Sky is on the field or in either graveyard, you get to add an Agent of the Moon, Mystery Earth, from the deck or graveyard to your hand instead. You can treat 1 monster, then target 1 card your opponent controls and destroy it, so it's a nice little bit of spot removal as well. And the final card we play is the Celestial Night Lord Parshath. So this one requires 2+ fairy monsters to make it as a link free. You can discard a card to add a Sanctuary in the Sky or a card that specifically lists the Sanctuary in the Sky in its text from the deck to the hand, and that's how you're going to be able to directly search out, wherever it may be, probably the bottom of the stack, the Fallen Sanctuary, so it's very easy to get to. And then on top of that as well, if Sanctuary in the Sky is already on the field, you get to add a fairy monster instead. If another face-up fairy monster you control is sent to the graveyard, except during a damage step, you get to banish a fairy monster from your graveyard to special summon a fairy monster from the hand whose level is higher than that banished monster's. You can only use each effect once per turn. The other benefit of something like this, if you wanted to look into it, is I do know that there was builds out there previously that were playing stuff like Nemesis Flag to target one of your banished monsters, put it back into the deck, and you just turn it into a Thunder Dragon Colossus. But I've tried to keep this more fairy focused with just some utility cards in the extra deck because I wanted to highlight the brand new cards that we got in Alliance Insight. So that's pretty much it for the entire profile. This is obviously designed to be a little bit more fun. Like, I'm not saying you're going to go and topple the meta with this fairy style deck, but it's just one of those nostalgic throwbacks. And a massive shout out to Scott, who basically, and I don't know what he's building it for as of the time of recording this, but I remember looking at these during the Alliance Insight sneak peek and I was like, oh, these might be really good in Agents. And then I just completely forgot about them. And then Scott asked for some of these today, and I was like, I wonder if he's putting them in Melodious or if he's trying to put them in Agents. And I was like, oh yeah, I never put the update together for Agents using these cards. And then I built it today and put it together and kind of haven't really tested this as much. This is really just theory crafting, but it's just a thought of like how this card could help the Agents themselves. There'd be a lot more testing that's needed, but it is a nice form of a extender, and it's a nice way of still being able to tribute your Diviner of the Herald if it does get negated by an imperm, because that's one of the weakest spots, or even an Ash Blossom. You can still utilize its tribute effect and go from there. Anyway, I hope this gives you a bit of an insight into the deck itself and a nice little bit of an update. I know it's probably not as... It's not going to be as competitive as it once was in the game, but it's just a nice little homage, I guess, as an update for this deck. I really do enjoy, like, I used to play it before, but then that was when you were able to access a toolbox and basically go, okay, cool, you're going to try and nib me, I can make Baron, or, oh, okay, you're going to try and nib me, I can go into Appaloosa early, I can go into Halley Firebrax to help me extend my combos to give me easier access to Venus, and kind of go from there. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Questions, comments below, more than happy to answer them. For now, as absolutely always, stay safe, and of course, happy dueling.